Hi, it's Chase back with Uplift Robotics beginning CAD video number 3 covering making custom parts. So unlike some of the other of our advanced CAD tutorials, this is just going to be the bare minimum you need to make custom parts for your FTC team. As you can see, this is going to be kind of a more unusual tutorial. I'm actually going to build a house here to teach you some of the basics. So we're going to cover things like patterns, simple extrusions, simple sketches. So within sketches, things like rectangles, squares, holes, lines, and then I'm also going to cover rounds. And I think that's going to be all we're going to cover today, but it's basically going to be a super simple video on how to start making custom parts in PTC Creo. So with that said, let's get started. So we're going to go up to the File tab and hit New. From New, you're going to want to make sure that the Part option is selected. And then when Part is selected, I'm going to rename this, let's just say Demo House. I'm going to hit OK. And from there, I'm going to get this blank window. And this blank window is just kind of the basis of all things that involve making parts. So the way Creo works is you sketch things first on a two-dimensional plane as if you were going to draw it on a piece of paper, and then you extrude it outwards. So it's not like a traditional modeling software where you would actually design things in a three-dimensional space. You first sketch them out on a two-dimensional space, and then you turn them into a three-dimensional space. So what we're actually going to do here is hit Sketch, and from there it's going to ask us for a plane. We are going to go ahead and click this vertical plane here, and then we're going to click Sketch. So once you click Sketch, you'll see we have this kind of blue lines here. And what that allows us to do is we can draw all sorts of two-dimensional shapes here. So like I can make a rectangle here, I can make some lines. So what we're going to do is draw ourselves a basic house. So I'm going to use the delete thing because I don't want any of these that I just drew. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all of those. So what I'm going to do is I want a square actually, because I'm going to make a square base for my house. So I'm going to go ahead and use the rectangle function, and I am going to draw, if it'll let me, I'm going to draw, and if you see, if I hold it in just the right way, it shows that it's parallel. So what I'll want to do is I'm going to drag it out to about there. I'm just going to use some arbitrary numbers for dimensions. So what I'll do is I'll drag that out so it showed that it was equal. So we know it's a square. So if I hit dimension here, we can see how large this is. So mine is in inches. Creo generally defaults to inches. I'm just going to use arbitrary numbers. I don't care how big the house actually is. But everything is going to be done with measurements. So what I'm going to do here is hit Enter. So now I have a 50 by 50 inch square. So now what we need to do is we need to draw the roof for our house. So I'm going to go ahead and make two lines. Or actually, I want to do this a little bit differently. Some of the things that you do in Creo, you have to be incredibly smart about how you make them. So for example, I want to make sure my roof is level. So what I'm actually going to go ahead and do is just make a simple line straight up in the middle. Again, if it'll let me, there it goes. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to draw two, and if you'll see, Creo allows you to kind of snap. I meant to mention this earlier. Creo will let you try and snap in the middle. So what I did with that parallel line is I dragged it out and it snapped in the middle. So I know the line's in the center of the roof. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing two lines to the middle. So now I know that those are centered. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete this parallel one now. And then what I'm going to do is what you'll notice is earlier that square was purple. Purple means that you have a geometry that you can actually extrude. So since this line is running through the middle of this sketch, I can't actually extrude this. So what I have to do is hit delete segment and come over here and drag over it so it deletes it. And now we have a purple geometry, which is what we want. I'm going to make the roof a little steeper just because I want to. So I'm going to change this to about 140 on each side. It needs to be even, obviously, so that they're equal lengths. That's a little too much. Let's go 135. All right, so now that I have that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw us a little chimney, actually. So I'm going to go and use that line tool again that we used earlier, and I'm just going to simply draw a little rectangle like that. And then again, we're going to have, you can see there's even a red dot here this time. We're going to have an issue because it's not one piece of geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one line segment there. And now we have a solid geometry. So what we can do with this is once we hit the check mark here, we have a sketch. So once we have a sketch, you can see it's two-dimensional, not really what we want. You can't actually do anything with a two-dimensional object in the real world. So what we're going to do is hit extrude. And what extrude allows us to do is it actually projects that sketch as many inches or as many millimeters, whatever you have your unit set to that you want. So I want a square house. So I'm going to set this to 50. So now I have a 50 by 50 by 50 house, not including the roof, because we knew this was a 50 square and I just extruded it 50 inches this way. So now you can see that this is it looks more like a house. So once that's done, I hit OK. And now I have a solid block that looks something like a house. Obviously, we need some windows, we need some doors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and turn it around just because I like the chimney on the right side. And I am going to work on some for a roof here actually. So what I'm going to do is I hit extrude. So this is another way of making a sketch, is if you go ahead, instead of hitting sketch, you can actually hit extrude, and then you can click on the surface you want to make your extrude on, and it will actually auto-generate a sketch for you. So that's what I did here. So what I'm going to do is just make one rectangle, because what I'm actually going to do, if you looked at the other model, I'm going to make this 4x4 grid of windows here, and I'm doing that so you can see how the pattern tool works. So what I'm going to do is just make a super simple square here, like so. And yeah, I think we're going to keep that, we'll do like 4x4 in here, and I'll make sure it's 4 away from the wall. I don't really care what the height is, we'll do 43 for I usually like to change Creo always picks really arbitrary numbers. As you saw, these numbers get to be really weird. You'll have like 43.78 or really strange numbers. So it's always a good practice to just round them out, because in the real world, having real numbers, especially when you need to start going back and lining other things up, having real good round numbers is much better than having your arbitrary numbers that are super hard to remember. So that is one good practice, is just to always change it to some sort of normalized number, because Creo usually picks something super random. So once I have my square there, I'm going to hit check, and now it's letting me extrude straight away. So it's a little bit easier to do it that way. We can just make it like 2 deep. And what you'll see here is I'm actually extruding into the house itself now. So I was able to extrude the house, and now I'm extruding a hole into the house. So I'm gonna hit check, and now we have that. Now the problem is, you saw I want this 4x4 grid here. So what I'm going to do is actually use a super useful tool, especially when you're making grids for holes or just patterning things in general, is the pattern tool. So you'll see it's grayed out right now. So what I need to do is actually select over on the left side, you can see extrude to, which is that window I made earlier. I'm going to click on that, and now this pattern tool is illuminated, so I can click pattern. Usually you won't use the dimension pattern type that you see up here. We'll use what we call direction, and what that allows us to do is actually click on, so for example, if I click on this wall, it's going to go in that direction. So what I can do is flip it, so I make sure it goes to the inside, because we want the window going towards the middle of the house, not the outside of the house. And then you can see I have 2 here. Let's do 7 apart for now. We can always go back and change that later. And then I wanted that square pattern, not just 2, because right now it's only going to extrude. These yellow dots are where it's going to pattern. So you can see right now it's only going to do 1. So I want that grid of 4. So what I need to do is click on another face that it can extrude in that direction. So if I click on this bottom one, oh wait, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. If I go to second direction, hit select one item, and then I click the bottom, you'll see it. This is making a square now. And what I want to do is change this to 7, so it's equal, and then I can go ahead and hit the check mark here, and you can see now I have my grid of 4. Now you may say, okay, these look a little far apart, which I would agree with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, if I right click here, you can go ahead and click, here, let me undo that. You can go ahead and click the dimensions button instead of going back in, and so if you click the yellow, it's going to go back and have you edit the pattern again. Same thing if you go back and edit an extrusion, and then if you right click and you click on the dimensions button, it just shows you the dimensions of your model. Just correct that real quick. Yeah, so it will show you just like this, it will show you how far it is without actually having to go and change anything. So I want to change this, let's say from 7 to 6, and you can see that wall just got narrower, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Sometimes these things get crooked, which is very annoying. You kind of just have to work your way around it here. Change that to 6. So now you can see I have my grid. And then real quick, let me just show you how to go back and edit a previous sketch, because that is a little tricky. Because you can see if I go up to extrude and I right click and I hit the yellow ball, it's going to let me edit the extrude, but you may say, okay, I want to edit the actual sketch. So what you would do is hit this drop down here, and then you're going to go where it says sketch 1, and you can either, like I just showed you, use either the dimensions and it'll show you the dimensions, or you can right click, if it'll let me here. It doesn't want to right now. You can right click and hit the yellow ball again, and now I can edit the actual sketch I was working on earlier. I'm just going to cancel that because I don't want to. And then, so other things that I need to add. I want to make a hole in this chimney here, and I want to make a door. So first let's make a door. So I'm just going to hit extrude on that surface again like we did earlier. I'm going to use the rectangle key, and I'll just draw it roughly here, and then we can do some math. So Creo, you got to do a lot of math. That's just how it is because everything's number based. So let's say I had a 12 wide door. We know this is a 50 inches wide house, and we want it to be centered. So what we do is we do 50 minus 12, which is 38, and then we do 38 divided by 2, so that is even. And we can even do that inside of here. So I can do 50 minus 12, which will bring it straight to a wall. So we said 38, and then I can say 38 divided by 2 using a backslash. So if I do 38 divided by 2 and hit enter, it's going to give us 19, which you can see the door is now centered. And then we'll say, see how this number is super long? This is what I was talking about earlier with the irrational numbers. So I'm just going to change this to, let's say, 24, just so it's a nice round number. And then that's it for our door. So all I have to do now is I hit check. And you can see sometimes these extrudes go in the wrong direction. So what you have to do is go up to where this kind of flip icon looks, and it will flip the extrusion. And you can see that's way deeper than we want. Obviously, a door isn't that deep. I made the windows too deep, so I'm just going to go ahead and make the door too deep as well. And now we have ourselves a door cutout. And then up here, this is where things are going to get a little tricky. So what I want to do here is actually cut in a hole for a chimney, like you can see that I did up here. So the way we're going to do that is actually, we're going to click on this, and we're going to click extrude like we have been for everything else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle in the middle, like so. So what I'm going to do is actually, and then you can see here I'm getting all sorts of weird dimensions, but I want to make sure, it's really hard, as you can tell, to make sure that this length here is equal to this length, because you have a measurement up here, it's 2.04 at the moment, but you don't have one down here. There's a way to fix this, and what it will do is actually get rid of this number here. So what we can do is if we click on this edge here and we control click the other edge, and then we middle click on our scroll wheel, it will actually generate a new number here, which as you can see. So let's say I want it to be 2 inches from all sides. So if I do 2 there, I come up here and that one went away, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that one again. Same thing, you control click, or click one of these, control click the other, and then you middle click, and now that's 1.74, so I'm going to change this to 2, because I said I wanted 2 on all sides. You can see this distance measurement here has gone away, because you can't have both, because they would fight each other. You can really only have measurements that work together if they're kind of fighting against each other. The Creo will force you to delete one, so it auto-deleted that one there, because it was this light blue color, which means I never actually told it how much it needed to be. So let's say just so you can understand what that means, let's say I made this 5, and then I said I wanted it 2 inches from, or I wanted an inch from these sides, let's say. So if I control click here, you can see that's 0.84, so I'm going to change that. But then when we go and try and do this other side, since I told this that it's 5, Creo is going to give me a problem when I try and reset a dimension here. You see this box comes up. It's kind of unhappy because now I'm telling it you need an inch here, and 5 here, but this thing isn't actually that length wide. So what we have to do is delete the 5 because I don't want the 5. I want it to be an inch on each side. So I'm going to delete the 5 here, which you can see I just selected it. You click delete. And now I can have this measurement and this measurement. So now I can set this one to 1 like I wanted, and that solves our problem. So now that that's done, I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. You can see it went the wrong direction again. I'm going to reverse it. And then let's say you didn't want this to, you see how this auto went to remove material? Sometimes it does this, sometimes it doesn't. If you want it, great. If you don't, you can just unclick it and it will get rid of the remove material, or if you want it, click remove material, it'll go away. And then I don't know how deep we need it, but you can see another wacky number, so I'm just going to change it to 25. And then one other tool I want to show you before we go ahead and change the color of everything is the round tool. So the way the round tool works is you go up here and you click round, and then there's 2 ways to use the round tool. So obviously a roof is never an absolute fine point. It's going to have something smoothed over the top of it. So let's say I wanted to round the apex of the roof. So the 2 ways I could do this is I could either click just the edge, and you can see it'll round like that, and then you can change this number to make it larger or smaller. So I can make it really round if I want, or I can make it not too round at all, just not completely sharp. And then the other way to do it, I'm going to go ahead and delete this real quick. So I click on set, I can go ahead and click here and hit remove. And then the other way to do it is just like how we were control clicking vertices or edges earlier, I can control click faces now. So I can click this one and I can click this, and now you can see it rounded again. So I'm going to change this to 1. And then one super useful trick, so you don't have to make a million different rounds, is let's say I wanted to round a couple other things as well. I can continue to just control click different edges and things. Hold on, that one got messed up. So I can control click different things as well. So I can come down here and click this one, and now we have another one. And then I can just click here, control click this face. We can put one there. I can put these wherever I want, essentially, and these are all within 1 round instead of having to make dozens of different rounds. So with that said, one useful thing, not super necessary, but it's nice to make your parts a lot more visible, both for the notebook and for just for you to be able to distinguish different parts in your CAD, because next week we are actually going to be covering assemblies, and assemblies are putting multiple parts together. So sometimes you have a lot of parts and you really can't tell one apart from the other because they're all this neutral gray color. So one super useful thing is if you go to view, you see this button for appearances. And what we have under appearances are all of these different colors, and even if you click more appearances, you can make your own color where you can take custom settings and do all of that. So that's super useful. So I'm just going to I want to make the doors different color than the house itself and the windows. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the whole house white. So if I go and I select white here and I click on it, you see up here it says select 1 or more items. So I can go ahead and I can either manually select every part of the house with the control click feature, or I can go and hit different extrudes and hit OK. And so if I click like extrude 1 here and I hit appearances, it should let me select that. It doesn't always, but so I'm just going to go ahead and manually paint everything here. So I'm just going to control click my way through this. Creo is temperamental from time to time, so some of these things work occasionally and some of them don't, but I'm just going to control click my way through so that everything except the windows and the doors are whites, because that's what I want. And the rounds do come up as separate surfaces, so that's something to keep in mind as well. I think I'm okay. I can hit OK here. Okay, so now everything except the doors and the windows are white. And then let's just say I wanted to change the doors to maybe a brown, so I can go ahead and click through that.
kind of tedious to do it this way. If you can get the extrusion thing to work that I was trying to do earlier, it's a major help. And then another thing there, you saw I just accidentally selected this face with control click, so you can control click it again and it'll deselect it. Just something to keep in mind, because it really stinks if you click a wrong face and have to start over with this. But I am just finishing this up here. So almost done. Alright, so that is it. That is our house. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you have any video ideas, also feel free to let us know. I'm happy to redo one of these, something like this, where we can make some actual FTC parts or something of that sort. We do have an assemblies video coming out next week where we are going to show you how to put both off-the-shelf and custom parts together. That's how most robots are built in CAD, so that's a super useful tutorial as well. This is just for making individual parts. But make sure to stay tuned for that, and be sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.